The answer is yes. Sondland affirms quid pro quo in Ukraine dealings. Countdown to Trump tweeting that Sondland was an ever-Trumper and he always distrusted him starts now. Trump on Wednesday quickly distanced himself from his ambassador. I don't know him very well. I have not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well, the president told reporters at the White House. He seems like a nice guy though. Didn't even make it through the article before he did it. Does Trump know anybody well? It's starting to look like he just doesn't get to know some of the most important diplomatic staff. Seems like something a president, as head of state, should know. I think he's getting Alzheimer's. He can't seem to remember people who he's worked with for years. That or the amphetamines he takes hourly. Friendly reminder that his taco bowl picture shows that he downs a bunch of Sudafed. There was a long article a few years back written by a doctor that laid out several compelling physiological observations that suggested Trump is nearly always high on amphetamines. That might be the most presidential thing about him. Noon's face is priceless. He managed to tell two people, "We're fucked," with nothing but his eyes. If you look carefully, you can see the exact moment his heart ripped in half. What heart? His coal. Should have moved more into renewables then. He has clean coal. He scrubbed it with a toothbrush. The GOP will now move on to the yes he did, but it's not a crime defense. On T_D these days the cry seems to be well, the Democrats are just as bad, and they are not getting punished for it. Kinda seems to me like they can no longer deny a crime was committed. So they've already jumped several steps forward to whataboutism. It's all they've been doing lately. It honestly looks like a bit of a panic from the outside. The lowest effort Dems bad posts have been getting the most upvotes. Even less substance than usual, which is saying something. The Q thing still has traction. The crazes on my social feeds quieted down when 4chan was shut down. 4chan wasn't shut down though. Sorry 8chan. Ah, that makes sense. That place was a true cesspool. Their defense is the aid got released after they were caught. It's literally like someone stealing from a store, and after getting caught returning the items, and thinking they shouldn't be punished, and it's not a big deal. The Republican argument is absolutely fucking asinine, and just makes no sense at all. The Republican defense is simply to discredit as much as possible regarding the people who are testifying. To discredit their testimony, there's not much they can do in terms of questions, because they all think the witnesses are liars, and never Trumpers, and will say anything to further the agenda against Trump. Which is why you often get the Republicans doing long rants about whatever, repeating their rants over and over during their time of questioning. Just goes to show how desperate and backed up they are. Exactly. They just have to muddy the waters and obfuscate the facts just enough so that they can convince their constituents to vote for them again. Nunes doesn't have to worry about what people in LA or San Francisco think, he just has to worry about his district. Which is why it's time to give a platform to all of their opponents in 2020. I personally am donating $5 to any opponent of a politician who still supports Trump's bribery. It's bribery, a high crime committed by the president. Coming next from the Republicans, why bribery and quid pro quo are not actually real crimes. Summary of impeachment hearings including testimonies from Sondland, Volker, and Taylor. This morning Ambassador Sondland testified that a quid pro quo deal was ordered by President Trump. Sondland testified that there was a quid pro quo deal. Sondland was ordered by President Trump to work with Giuliani and his indicted associates, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, against his wishes. Sondland stated that he was treated unfairly by the State Department and White House as they are refusing him access to his emails and phone records. Sondland was against withholding aid to Ukraine. Sondland believes the only way aid would be released was if President Zelensky made a public statement of opening up investigations into Biden and the supposed Ukrainian 2016 election interference. It should be noted that both conspiracies have been debunked by other witness testimonies. 1. Mr. Giuliani's requests were a quid pro quo for arranging a White House visit for Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, Sondland says in an opening statement provided by his lawyer to CNBC. Mr. Giuliani was expressing the desires of the President of the United States, and we knew that these investigations were important to the President, according to Sondland's statement. Sondland highlights an email he sent to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Energy Secretary Rick Perry, Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and other senior aides, in which he writes, after speaking to Zelensky, that Ukraine's leader intends to run a fully transparent investigation, and will turn over every stone. That email was sent July 19, nearly a week prior to Trump's request in a phone call that Zelensky look into the Biden's, Burisma and a debunked conspiracy theory that Ukraine meddled in the 2016 election. A whistleblower's complaint about that July 25 call sparked the impeachment inquiry. Everyone was in the loop, Sondland says. It was no secret. This is all a very dangerous precedent to set for the executive. I don't like the idea of an American president being allowed to point foreign agencies to specific cases of corruption he or she may conceive of through a personal lawyer, and not a Senate-confirmed appointee. That's exactly the problem. The impeachment hearings are happening because that should not be occurring. No, I was told that they're a complete farce by Fox News. The aid was given. Jim Jordan said it himself. Not a crime. Just like if I robbed a bank and gave back the money before I was arrested. Not a crime. But my javelins. I like the part where Pence and Pompeo knew about it. I think we should name a building after Trump. The Donald J. Trump Federal Prison for former government employees. We are going to need it. What is this? A prison for peasants? It needs to be at least 3 times golder than this. Can we coat it in fool's gold? I feel like it would be appropriate. Painted orange, the real fool's gold. Then we can have a Netflix original documentary about it called Orange is the New Gold. Bribery and extortion aren't impeachable? I see, that applies only to Trump. To anyone else, lock him up SMH. His supporters will need a signed confession written in Trump's own blood before they even consider the possibility that Trump is corrupt. Having elected a literal traitor, based on lies and propaganda from a foreign adversary, is too much for them to admit to themselves. It would call into question their whole political ideology and perspective on the world, so their ego rejects it as dangerous. A confession by Trump wouldn't be enough. They'd just say he's being forced to confess false crimes, or that it's an imposter or something. This is a cult of personality. Trump is incapable of wrongdoing in their minds. Even if he does something bad, it's actually a good thing. Hey, so ingrained in their belief that Trump is there to work for them and do the Lord's work that they can't see past their noses. They hold on to the beliefs so tightly that when you say anything negative in an attempt to try to make them realize that this guy's the farthest thing from a Christian, which is why they wanted him in office, they retaliate instead of listening to valid criticism. You can still like something while accepting that there's bad to it, but these people just shove their fingers in the air and go la la la, I'm not listening. It's willing slavery. They put the shackles on themselves. I can't wait for Giuliani to be on stage. He is going to be joining traitor Roger Stones and Nixon lol. Yeah, I really think the nation's mayor will end up in an orange suit. He's being set up to take the fall. The testimony today mentioned Trump's orders to Rudy, but put Rudy firmly in the crosses instead of Trump. It attempted to make it sound like Trump just knows Rudy was doing something with Ukraine, but it was all Rudy's idea, which once Republicans accept what happened was illegal, they'll turn to Rudy being rogue. Yup, same play as with his last personal lawyer. Funny how all his personal lawyers end up corrupt. I wonder if they have something in common.